This podcast is the sole property of Proud Sports. Our thoughts and opinions are our own.
They say I walk like a king, talk like a king. You can act around now, say the same thing. They chasing the fame, they all want the name. But they ain't got what's running through these veins. Say I walk like a king, talk like a king. You can act around now, say the same thing. They chasing the fame, they all want the name. But they ain't got what's running through these veins. Make way for the king.
It's the Proud Panthers podcast, and I'm Steven, or you can call me Beck as well, at Steven Beck TO on X. That might have a new ring to it for you. And all of this, the home for High Point University basketball. We're still here, man. You'll have to bear with me, though, because I'll tell you, I had some type of congestive, snotty, cold a couple weeks ago. Did one of these episodes then and shared like, hey, I'm just battling through it. Well, in just a couple of weeks' time, I've now got two of these bad boys, and it laid me out pretty bad this second time. We've actually had folks wondering if this podcast was still going to continue and I was still wanting to do it or whatnot. And I'm here to say, number one, I'm here and I want to do it and excited to still have it going. Excited to have folks that wonder about it. That's really cool to have followers and people that enjoy this, because I know I do as a High Point fan. But it's really ultimately because I missed being able to be physically at the Radford High Point game that we're going to talk about today, where High Point won 86-77 inside the Quabain Center last Saturday night. I couldn't be there because of all this that we're talking about, and I'm still here on Tuesday battling through it. That's why we're a little delayed getting this episode out, but also we don't play until Thursday this week, so I felt like we had a little bit of time. I was trying to get better, but that's really the story on that. More exciting news for you of some stuff that's on my mind. And like I said, we got to talk about this High Point Radford game, as right now High Point continues to keep pace in the Big South with Winthrop. So a lot of different things that I think transpired in this game. I hate I wasn't there to see him in person, but I still was following along. I've still talked with the program, still got some different feelers out there with fans and different things. And so I'm eager to share those with you. All of that is coming up here in just a second.
High Point University, the premier life skills university, is ranked the #1 best-run college in America by the Princeton Review. Employers value HPU's real-world preparation. Students love unprecedented access to global leaders on High Point's inspiring campus. And parents appreciate HPU's God, family, and country values. Choose to be extraordinary at High Point University.
Back with you here, Proud Panthers podcast. And we appreciate you following along. One of the really coolest things that I would say I've experienced is, again, having people listen and tune in to this podcast on High Point basketball. And I say that because when I started it, it was really just to kind of scratch an itch that I had. For those that may not know, I used to do this for a living, talking sports, being on the radio, and that was my first gig after I graduated from High Point. And I got out of it back in like 2013. And, I did that because I wanted to start other businesses and see what my future could grow to. And I still missed it. I still had parts of it that I wished I had, kept working on. And so I went back to just talking about something I like and enjoy, and that's High Point basketball. I love it. I'm an avid fan. I was a fan before I even was a student there. That's really what drew me into wanting to attend High Point, actually, was men's basketball. I worked with the men's basketball team. I've done a lot of different stuff, but what I would say is when I started and launched it, I didn't really care, if people would follow it, if people would listen necessarily. It was more just like, I need an outlet to share my thoughts and stuff. And it's been really fun to have people that follow it and listen and share it. And I hope that'll only continue. But we have a different little platform deal here that I launched as well recently. And I have shared that at heart, I'm an entrepreneur, but I also have ADHD tendencies. I also just love creating. I have that passion. And so with that being said, Proud Sports is no longer exactly Waking Up Proud, the podcast, High Point discussion, getting involved with Panthers fans. All of that is here to stay because that is a passion I have, and anything that I'm doing, I really desire to have it align with like my passions. That's where I'm really going to do the best with it. But we've got a new website, and it's called teedoffsports.com. That's TEEDOFF sports.com, Teed Off Sports. And I did that because I'm eager to connect with others. We've had a great following with High Point supporters, and I hope that will only continue. But I'm eager to connect with Carolina Panthers fans. I'm eager to connect with Charlotte Hornets fans if they're not busy fighting like they were last night. I'm eager to hear from folks that like movies and food and all the other things that I'm just interested in, golf or just hanging out with friends. Man, there is so much that I think we'll be able to do, and looking forward to having fun with that. Now, a few little side notes. We still have a platform for a lot of different podcasts to get involved with, and we're adding those in. So if you like the Proud Panthers podcast, I hope you'll check out the other ones that are a part of Teed Off Sports and the platform there. And we've still got a Saturday morning show called Waking Up Proud, and it'll remain that name because, again, that ties me to High Point University. I share that across statewide and love doing that on live radio, 9 to 11 on Saturday mornings, where you can call in. You can be a part of it. It's lots of fun doing that. So a lot of what I've already developed, it's continuing, but I hope that it gets bigger, stronger, better, links us up with other folks. And man, shoot, I hope it's just a lot of fun and people enjoying themselves. That's what it's all about. High Point, winning games helps me enjoy myself. And right now, we're 10-1, staying right there on pace with Winthrop in the Big South Conference. By our latest win, beating Radford 86-77 in High Point. That was last Saturday night. And while I watched this game from afar, I do feel like it opened my eyes to a few different things. I don't know, as a fan, if you've experienced that yourself. I feel like coaches, players, people that are like super locked in and close to something, sometimes it would help to get like a 50,000 foot view, because the closer you get to something, the more easy I feel like it is to get kind of jaded maybe a little bit, or, hey, I'm so close that maybe I'm missing kind of external things. And for me, I would say that has been the case, is like I've been so locked in and so close at the games and entrenched that sometimes, it's kind of nice to unplug and step back a little bit to get a different view, a different perspective. What I watched in that game was a couple of things. One, Radford is a very talented team. Zach Chu has done what you would expect an NBA scout style person to do, and that is go out and get some really good talent. Now, there's a whole different episode that could be had talking NIL around the Highlanders. I mean, I don't know if it will long-term have as much oomph and dinero behind it as it did this year, given Chu's family and their own business, we'll call it struggles legally. So it'll be interesting to see if he can keep that up. But right now with this team, Jalen Johnson, Dennis Parker Jr., Dale Jones, those are really the top three. But those are some talented dudes. Radford's not a team that I want to see again. I would love if we could get through the Big South tournament without having to face this team, because I think that they will sneak up and probably beat some people just based off the sheer talent that they have. So I was happy to see that despite that talented team, and on top of it, despite really not having our best stuff, we found a way to win. That comes because of a couple things. One, being at home again is a comfort for our High Point program, and really has been during the entire Alan Huss era that now has meshed together with the Flynn Clayman era. As long as Flynn has been at High Point, assistant or head man, this team at home is as good as any in the country. So that is a lift. But the other way that we stayed in and around winning this game is forcing the turnovers again. And we actually didn't get out rebounded for the first time in a few games. You combine all that with some free throws, and there you go. We find a way to hang on and win this game. But the things I want to talk about here, there's really a few. As we go now on the road, a couple of games, we're coming down the stretch of this season. A game like the one against Radford is both good and bad. The good is, again, not with our best stuff, against a really talented team. You win the game. You take that every single day to the bank. The concerning parts, I'm going to start with, there's a few, but I'm going to start with our shooting. This team and the way that our offensive system is built heavily around the idea, in my opinion, that you're going to be able to effectively stretch the floor and shoot the ball well. You've got very capable shooters in almost all 5 spots of your lineup at any given moment. That's the design of the team. We're not overly big, in other words. So a design of that style team, if you watched UNC and Duke, those two teams both have some great size inside. And I'm not just talking about Cam Boozer or Caleb Wilson. I'm also talking about a guy like Pat Gongba, who is, again, a very good and skilled big man who gets overshadowed because, Cam Boozer is just a freakishly good athlete as a freshman. And with a team like that, if you have that interior presence, excuse me, told you, still battling here. But if you have that interior presence, you can score in the paint, focus more attention in there, then you'd really have to worry about that stretch and that exterior shooting. Now, Owen, with the way that he stepped up and his aggressiveness, I love it. You take that, and that is an added versatility that maybe wasn't as strong at the start of the season. Now, with that being said, anybody that watched this game against Radford on Saturday, we got to make layups. I heard Coach Klayman say it in his post-game press conference. Everybody knows, by watching, very weird to miss that many little bunnies up close, nobody around you. Probably not going to happen very often, but still, man, we got to make a layup. So Owen's aggressiveness gives us a little bit more of this versatility I'm talking about. But I think still the general concept of how this team was constructed, putting together the roster, is that all 5 guys on the floor any given moment can step beyond the arc, and you stretch out the defensive efforts to get guys cutting to the basket, to get guys driving to the basket downhill, to come up with ways to score that really make it difficult on a defense if you can shoot the ball well. And here of late, I don't know what happened. We're not shooting the ball that well. Just against Radford, we were 5 of 25 from behind the arc. Now, free throws, really loved seeing that. We only missed 6 for the game. That's awesome. And one time, that couldn't be said. But now, it's the exterior shooting. And I really hope that we can find that range again. Because when we do that, if we've already got the slashing, the fast break, and then added in some aggressiveness from Terry and Owen and guys that can get around the basket, that is the real recipe that we need going into Johnson City and to end the season, because we've had it already this year. Chase, Conrad, Braden, Scotty, those are the guys. And Scotty did his part on Saturday night, I will say. But those other guys, these are the ones we got to be knocking down those outside looks when we can. There's an element to this game that I also wanted to talk about, because it's been a big topic for High Point fans throughout the season. Cameron Fletcher came to this team after being really a journeyman through college basketball. The typical thing that we'll see going through college sports until there's any type of regulation and rules on transfers and how many years you get to play and all the other NIL transfer portal stuff that has now come onto the scene. But throughout his journeyman process, Cam has battled both injury and also just himself. We're all sometimes our own worst enemies. I know there's also our own worst critics. That applies to me a lot. Anything I do, I really study it and start thinking like, man, that was dumb. Could do that better. I think that Cam has his own challenges with things like that. And that's human. That's normal. So when he came to this High Point team, and there's lots of buzz around a player like that, as it should be, because he's uber talented. He's got all the physical traits. He's got skill to back that up. And then he's also got experience playing for a lot of different levels of competition. That is something that people are going to raise an eyebrow to and pay closer attention with. And so now that we've watched Cam through this process, and we've seen things like missed games, we've followed the story throughout the time where he wasn't physically in the stadium for games. We've talked about how there was some type of misalignment between the team and Cam and kind of the things that are happening there. Again, just straight from the program, it was an internal matter. and they were all working together, dealing with that, handling things as they should as a team. But there's a lot of questions that I get surround that. Yeah, as somebody on the outside looking in, you're just wondering all the time. You know, I know Cam's got immense ability. We need him on the team. It makes us better. Why is he not there? What is really happening? Man, you know, my desires outweigh my understanding. You know, it's what I want and desire. So whatever else common sense that could come into the discussion, I'm going to kind of put that on the back burner and just desire and want what I want. The other night against Radford, after also now dealing with a wrist injury that was, very real to the situation. Yeah, he comes back against Presbyterian, goes up for some rebounds late in the game, late second half-ish. I believe it was Presbyterian. Let me actually double check my thought process on that. But either way, he's going up for rebounds, and in that process comes down kind of awkward. So now he's got that to challenge through over a couple of games. Against Radford, finally gets again back in the ball game with some minutes. And honestly, from this far out view that I had, it's very clear to see what would be normal in a situation like this. He's out of sorts. I heard the scuttle. I heard the words and the talk that I guess when he was removed from the game at one point the other night, he ripped his jersey, had to go change one, different number, and then didn't come back in the game. And I understand that frustration, actually. That's all it was. From my viewpoint, it's just that he is battling. It's like me with this cold crap germy stuff that I'm dealing with. Man, like, it's a battle and it's frustrating. You wake up the next day and you're hopeful that all this congestion and junk is gone, and boom, here it is again. And like, man, if I had the strength to rip off, and this wasn't a nicer shirt for later meetings, I might be ripping this. So Cam right now is not linked up with either himself or the team. And that's expected. Again, dude missed 6 games before his injury, I believe. And then after that, missed another 2. And during that whole thing, life goes on. Practices still happen. The team keeps going. He's going to naturally get behind a little bit. Rapport with a team, that's why you practice all the time. That's why you work on things. That's why you're doing all this kind of stuff. It ends up biting you in the butt a little bit, and was probably one of my most top concerns seeing him come back. All here and all for, and still am, the talent that Cam brings to the table and the abilities that he has to really help this team if he can just get comfortable with himself and get into a role and a rhythm again. But to get to that, it's going to take a little bit of time again, and it's going to take, again, some acceptance from himself. That's the hardest part here that I think anybody would deal with. And I talked a lot about Chase Johnson as an example to this. Chase is a great way to look at the Cam situation, because Chase started with this team as a constant starter nightly. This season, he also started as a starter nightly. Now, his role with the team is not that. It's not the same. I love his role with the team. I think coming in off the bench can be an immediate boost. And again, if he knocks down those shots from beyond the 3-point arc and gives us that stretch component I was already talking about, That is a huge lift. And then you just toss in his demeanor, his personality, and the veteran experience that he has, that he can help with these other guys. I mean, there is everything there about Chase that I admire and appreciate. It took Chase, just because I know I've talked with him a little bit, and I think he would feel comfortable with me sharing at least this part, because he's human and he understands things, like this happen. And I just love what Chase stands for. It takes a minute when your role and like what you're expecting changes. And it took him a second to get his own personal mind probably wrapped around some of that. And so with Cam, it's the same thing. Ripping his jersey is just frustration that is shown outward, that we may not get as much of a chance to see as often as you actually wouldn't believe it happens. I've seen in practices when I was with the team way back in 2008, guys just letting their emotions get out on, wearing it on their sleeve. I do it. I know that. You watch me at a High Point game, you see an official make a lousy call. I probably embarrass my wife and kids, truthfully. That's just who I am. I mean, I got emotions, and they sometimes they spill out. And that, I believe, with it being the family appreciation night and senior night and all the stuff that goes into that, you want to go out, you want to show out, you want to perform at your best, and it's just like your head's hitting a wall, and that's tough. So we need Cam to still stay in it. We want Cam to keep battling that. We want him to get back to what he was adding to our team at the start of the season. Another versatile interior scoring element. I already talked about our team not being dramatically built around that, but if he can help in that way, again, makes life easier. And while we still won the rebounding battle the other night, it would be nice to have his addition to that statistic as well, because I know that early in the season he was a leader in that category. The last thing that I thought I would bring up on this Proud Panthers episode is Vincent Brady is somebody that I personally like who he is as well. Off the court, very gentle kind of spirit about him, easy to get along with and talk to. We actually have an interview way back on the Proud Panthers podcast where I sat down with Vincent Brady, would encourage people to go and check that out. And during that time, by me watching him in those practices and kind of being around just a little bit, I termed him, I gave him a name, the Silent Assassin. And the reason I did that is because his personality type isn't so overpowering. It's opposite of mine. It's like, he could be in the room and you probably wouldn't recognize it immediately. It's cool. He's gotten a lot of minutes lately. And I am open to anybody on this roster getting as many minutes as they can. I only caution a little bit out of Vincent because this is what I realized from my very outward 50,000 viewpoint laying in bed. And I wasn't like fever dreaming here because I haven't had to deal with that. I just have a balloon for a head. What I realized is I loved that he stepped up his aggressiveness for this game the other night against Radford. The aggressiveness, the attack mindset, I've been screaming about that throughout this season. That is one of those things where forcing turnovers, getting the deflections, getting steals, rushing up the floor and pushing the ball, that is the kind of effort and intensity and play that is needed. And Terry Anderson has been the driving force of that the whole year. Terry Anderson hadn't taken a night off. I mean, 2 games ago wasn't his best, but he still was in there, still was battling, still was doing his thing, and a leader on this team. And I appreciate Vincent inserting that effort the other night. But I just caution it, for Vincent's sake, to keep in mind that while being aggressive, you still need to be an element to the system of the team. I like efficiency. I'm big about taking the right shots, getting the right looks, and this High Point team has been top in the country on finding the right guys and scoring buckets, assisting, helping, making the extra pass. I watched a drill back in the offseason of the one more, the extra pass that these guys were working on. Just the facts is that while Vincent had his 13 points the other night, it was on 4 of 13 shooting. It's stated the same if you just look at Radford with Jalen Johnson. He had 17 points on 5 of 15 shooting. I know if we go way back to New Year's Eve, it was our opening Big South matchup. In that game, we had to face, pulling up his name here because I can't ever remember it, but it's Cameron Taylor. And Cameron Taylor put up 21 points. Tall, lanky style, kind of fits the same mold as Scotty Washington. We'll see him again on an ESPNU national televised game inside the Conveyance Center against the Bulldogs, Running Bulldogs. No. Yeah. UNC Asheville coming up. Cameron Taylor, for that game, 8 of 20 shooting, 0 of 4 from three-point range to get those 21 points. And I remember talking about it then. It's like, yeah, he led them in scoring. And yeah, he was tough for us to stop down the stretch in that second half of that game. But you still need to operate within your system. You still need to operate within the team. And High Point's team is so talented at so many different spots. We don't necessarily need a guy, while being aggressive, to go out and over assert himself to inefficiently score and try to carry the load, try to carry the team. That's a very NBA kind of thing on teams that are small market. You used to could have said that about like a Hornets team, although they've ran off quite a few wins now. But they would need somebody to like go out and put up 30 points on very inefficient shooting just because nobody else could score. They don't have the talent around them. Well, High Point's team has that talent. It's built around it. We need everybody to be aggressive, but at the same time, do it within the constraints of the team is what I would love to see. So we got a couple of road games coming up. We'll see the first one of those coming up on this is a Thursday night week again for our High Point team. So added extra rest, but it's at USC Upstate where they are on the same level as what I would say a Presbyterian, what I would say a Longwood right now. These teams that are going to play hard, they're going to be prepared. They're going to try to give us their Super Bowl best shot. What I desire from our team is that aggressiveness I just talked about, but also maybe some stretch shooting. And I hope that Cam just keeps battling, stays in it, and the team realizes that everybody's still got to stay locked in together, and hope that they'll all come around him and help with that process. In the meantime, hope you'll go to teedoffsports.com, hang out with us there. We got new podcasts joining the platform, new guys that are going to be adding other content, blogs and videos. And man, I didn't even have a chance to share this time because I knew I had a lot to get to with the game. But we got a Taco Bout tour that is coming your way as well. Hope you'll take part in that. We'll see you again soon on a Friday, Proud Panther.